guys, this is Andrew, and I just wanted to kind of put out a brief video to not only test my audio. I've made some changes. I've done some more sound treatment stuff, and I've been pretty pleasantly surprised with it. So I'd like some feedback from you guys. Let me know how it sounds. If you have any recommendations, I'd love to hear them. And I also wanted to update you guys on the Xenosaga review. I'm still writing the script. I've taken just a moment to do a little more research because of the history of this game. It's pretty rich, and I think when I reviewed Xenogears, which was actually the first game I ever reviewed, I don't feel like I put quite enough time into it. First review definitely had quite a bit to learn at that particular moment, but I don't want to make the same mistake with Xenosaga, and there's just a surfeit of information out there, and I want to make sure that I'm not incorrect about anything, and that I've exhausted a lot of the resources available, and there are a lot available. So again, I appreciate the patience with that. I hope to have it out soon. I think I've said that 3 times now, so I don't know. I took some time out to work on the sound, the acoustics in this room. I had some help from Mike from Dark Pixels, so I don't know if he'll see this video, but he was extraordinarily helpful in giving me sort of advice on how to create a very cost-friendly setup, so very much appreciative. And lastly, I just want to talk about, kind of random, but Ni No Kuni 2, and I don't know how many of you guys actually still play modern RPGs. I still do, but I'm pretty selective. I really enjoyed the first Ni No Kuni. It was just beautifully beautiful. The art was stunning, obviously Studio Ghibli and all that, and I really did enjoy the combat, but that was actually one of my major gripes from the first one, is that it becomes a little too tedious. It becomes, kind of wears you down as far as I'm concerned, and I think that I am a little bit over kind of pet-based, I think they're called familiars in that one, pet-based combat. Having played Jade Cocoon back in the day, and lots of Pokemon, I think that's just something I'm not into all that much anymore. And so when I played Ni No Kuni 2, I sat down to play it a few days ago, and I think I've already put like 15 hours into it. So not a whole lot. So take what I say. I'm gonna be a little careful with making any statements. I just want to give my impressions. I do highly recommend it. Already will tell you that. Very much enjoy the game, but the combat is completely different. If you did play the first one, it's action combat. It's fast. You get right into combat. They do a great job of not only making it very free-flowing, very accessible, but also kind of, there are more working bits to it than you'd expect. There's skills based on different weapons that you have. There are long-range attacks. There's magic. There's different mechanics for taking down flying monsters. I will say that right now and this has been one of the criticisms of it, it's painfully easy. I do know they're introducing a hard mode. I don't know if that patch is already out or what. I'm playing on the PC currently. But it is, I don't want to be unfair here. Again, I've only played 15 hours. Now, I don't want to immediately contradict myself, but they are, I will say, kind of introducing more and more encounters that at least require the player to, utilize some of the higgledy spells and dodge and block and just be a little bit more on your toes. So it does look like they are at least going to make sure that the things they've put in are used, or at least not just an afterthought. So we'll see. This was something I read about, unfortunately, early, and maybe it tainted my view going in, or it was something that I was a little too focused on. And again, I will also say that most action RPGs, early combat is fairly simple and easy, so we'll see. As I play, I'll maybe amend that criticism of it. So, and I have also run into some tainted monsters, which I think are, I think that many of the tainted monsters, from what I've read, are actually very difficult. They're sort of marks on the world that give you tangible rewards for taking them down, and so I'd imagine that those are going to be much harder. Sure, case by case dependent, but on average, probably much harder. I just hope they continue to, utilize these really cool, the really cool combat system that they've set up. I've said this before about some old school RPGs where they introduce some very cool interactions and very cool mechanics, and then just don't really require that you ever use them. I think that would be a shame in this game, especially. Now, also there are a lot of things to do. There's mini war games that, if you were just looking at it, doesn't really look that tactical and doesn't really look too involved, but it actually really is. I've only played, I think I've only played like 2 of those, and most of the footage I'm going to be showing is from early on in the game because I just don't want to show too much of it. It's still being relatively new. But I've only played a few of those, and a lot of it is that they have sort of a paper, rock, scissor mechanic system in place. You have some inherent weaknesses against certain classes and groups, and then of course different abilities that override some of those temporarily, and different skills. You can call in different skills with different sort of leaders of those groups, so a lot more involved than you'd think. It also has, as I think most people know at this point, a sort of like a kingdom building aspect, a town building aspect, where and in fact there are some similarities to the way Suikoden lets you do some of the town management stuff, so that's also a pretty cool throwback feel there, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. Like I said, there are some problems. I think the combat is right now just painfully easy. I'm trying to be careful with making any, absolute statements here because I've played what I would guess is like a quarter of the game right now. And there are some kind of weird or questionable character motivations that just don't they just don't make sense in the moment necessarily, or there's like an abrupt change from killer pirate to I'm joining you, I'm going to help you from this massive kingdom. That's a little hard to, I think it's a hard sell, but nevertheless I still do really appreciate the variety of characters, and most of them are fairly interesting, with more depth than you'd imagine for a game that seems on the surface be a little childish, though it does deal with some pretty it does hit you early with some moving moments, despite the fact that you're dealing with like a mice and cat kingdom warring with each other, or a coup from a some mischievous rats and mice, and so it might be a little hard for some of you to take seriously, but nevertheless it is still moving. It does still have some weight, some emotional weight. I didn't feel it at quite the same way that I felt the first one, which brings me to my biggest complaint early. I know it feels like I'm actually just complaining about this, but I have to say, the combat alone, especially if they do add a hard mode, or if there are more challenging things as I progress, the combat alone is addictive enough for me to not worry about anything else. But I don't want to seem too negative, but I do have to say one thing that is kind of strange. And I haven't, full disclosure, if someone wants to fill me in on this, I haven't done enough research to know why this is, but it's very strange. There will be a voice-acted line, and then nothing, just you're reading text, which is fine, but, you're reading text for a few minutes, and then a randomly voice-acted line, and then reading text again, and it's very strange. It really throws me off. It just makes for a stranger experience. I'd kind of prefer them to have the introductory voice acting and then text for the whole time, or a lot more voice acting. When the voice acting is there, it's superb. It's wonderful, and I enjoy it thoroughly. But this is just so far, it's a little peculiar. That's all I'll say. And the pacing, though, because look, there are a lot of things in Ni No Kuni to introduce. The second one, there's a lot of stuff, and they did a fantastic job. The creators did a wonderful job of pacing those introductions. If they were to just throw all of the things going on in this world at you within the first, I think it's spaced out. Probably within the first 5 to 6 hours, you have almost all of the working parts, from kingdom building to mini war games to learning how to visit your in-game world page that feels sort of like a Facebook update page. Your higgledies and how they function. All of the different battle mechanics that you can utilize, weapons, tactics, in-game, you also have like a tactics tree that you slowly unlock sort of passives and strengths that help you in combat. This would be very overwhelming if hadn't been done correctly, and I think they paced it so pristinely that it never feels overwhelming. And there's a lot of stuff going on here, and I don't know how it will all stay working together, if it will work together for the duration of the game, or if some pieces will be left behind, or if they won't fully utilize them. I have read some critiques that have scared me that seem to claim that you invest hours and hours upgrading and doing all of this when you don't really need any of it because the combat isn't hard enough to force you to need any of these upgrades that you spend hours and hours. So that's, again, that's worrisome, but I can't say that for certain. These are just things I've read about it. So let me just go ahead and clarify. Despite sounding negative about the game, wonderful, wonderful, addictive, fast-paced combat that is the polar opposite of Ni No Kuni, the first one. Despite being turn-based, and I love turn-based, I didn't get into it, though my goodness, I think I actually quit right before beating the game, which is silly, but I think that's what I did. That has all of this, that still retains all of that wonderful stylistic, artistic charm, doesn't inundate you with all of its systems immediately, gives you time to get into the game. It's a beautiful world, so many beautiful shots, and a whole host of interesting characters and things going on in this world. I hope they can continue to add to it with patches that do add, higher difficulty. And maybe I'm flat out wrong. Again, if you've played this game and you feel that that's just an inaccurate assessment of it, let me know. I'd be glad to know. But right now, through the first 10 to 12 hours, I'm not sure exactly, it has not been challenging at all, and that's been disappointing. But nevertheless, I'd still highly recommend this game if you're looking for a more modern, JRPG. I have not played much Persona 5, and I would also love to hear what y'all's thoughts on Persona 5 are. I really am interested in the game, but I just know that that's going to be quite an investment, and if I'm trying to get reviews done in less than 3 months, probably should avoid that. And Ni No Kuni 2 is easy for me while I was, doing some extra research on Xenosaga and setting up these, sound panels and, blankets and stuff like that. It was easy for me to just kind of zone out and quickly play a few hours here and there. It didn't really require a whole lot of effort, really. That's how fun the combat is, but, again. But that's about gonna do it. I really just honestly, guys, just wanted to use this as a test run for the audio. Again, I've been pretty happy with it, so just let me know your thoughts on it. And I, again, hope to have Xenosaga out soon. And let me know what you think of Ni No Kuni 2. I like it a lot. I understand the criticisms, but I'm really, really enjoying this game. As always, guys, thanks for stopping by.